things started. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jenna Nilo. I am the Director of Marketing and Outreach with Illinois Digital Educators Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us here today. In a minute, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Leah from CodeHS, and she will get things started. Just a few housekeeping items to go over real quickly, though. First of all, we already talked about the microphones and video. If you go ahead and keep those off for now, I'm sure Leah will give you other directions as she begins. But that way, when your kids start waking up and they start walking across the back of the behind you, shirtless, because that's what kids do, then we won't all get to see that. So I'm sure mine will be doing the same thing, and I will be turning myself off shortly. So if you just go ahead and do that, and like I said, if Leah has other instructions, obviously she will do so. The other thing is we're recording. So we are recording today, and we will be posting this workshop to our webpage, as well as sending you out a copy of the workshop and any resources that Leah shares today. So definitely take a look for that stuff as well. And then last but not least, PDH. If you're looking for PDH credit for today, we will be issuing that at the end of today's session. So at the end of today's session, I will be putting a link in that chat window, and I'll let you know when I'm putting it in and stuff, but I'm going to put a link in there, and then you guys will be able to get PDH credit for live attendance at today's event. I think that's it. So without further ado, I am going to mute myself and zip it up and turn things over to Leah with one of our newest partners, CodeHS, and she's going to be taking us through some great stuff with CodeHS courses and their cyber courses for grades 6 through 12. So I'm going to mute myself, and Leah, go ahead and take over. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna, and thank you everyone for joining us today for this workshop. I am super excited to be with you all today and looking at our cyber courses. So let's go ahead and dive in. This is looking under the hood at our 6th through 12th grade cybersecurity courses. So I'll give you the agenda in just a second, but we'll just take care of some logistics. You see a URL that's at the bottom here. I'm going to throw this into the chat. This has all of the major links that I'll be using today. There might be some other ones that I kick out there, but this one has the slide deck that I'm using, the how to create an account, how to get into the demo course that I'll be using, the course catalog, the syllabi, all that good stuff. Oh, it's not allowing access? Well, let me double check that. See what's going on with that. Thank you for letting me know. I've had people limp along and not be able to see something. So actually, I'll just throw the preview out there and see if that helps. Is that better? All right, let me know if you don't get into that. And thank you for Pablo for letting me know. Awesome.
Still telling us we need access on the preview too.
Well, that's strange. Okay, let me go to edit. Usually that doesn't work that way with, never fails. Check every single link, I thought, so I apologize. I'll get this fixed for you because this is an important doc for you to have access to. All right, let's check our settings. I'll tell you a little bit of what I did this last weekend that was not a good idea. Don't do this yourself. If you have a Mac right now, do not upgrade to Big Sur just yet. I broke my own rule about operating systems and upgraded last weekend and have regretted that ever since. It's done crazy things to Zoom. It has done crazy things to Google, all that stuff. All right, I just changed permissions. Can you see it now? Fingers crossed.
Yep, all good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So I am an Illinois resident. I wasn't born and raised in Illinois, but I came here when I was 18 and I've lived here ever since. So I've been here a long time. It's basically home now. So I'm always excited to work with Illinois teachers. And I taught for 14 years in the Plainfield School District. 7 of those years I taught computer science, everything from intro to computer science, all the way through APCSA. I left the classroom in 2011, so it was before APCSP even came out, but I would have loved to have taught that course because I think it's pretty amazing and it has increased access and equity to computer science in a really big way. I also was an instructional technologist for 2.5 years at Joliet Township High School District, learned an awful lot about IT and technology and things like that. So lots of great experiences in the state of Illinois professionally. I found CodeHS in 2018, early 2018. So it was after I left the classroom. I wish I would have had it when I was teaching because at that time I had to develop all of my own resources. I had to make my own website. I had to manually grade kids' work by going from station to station in the computer lab and just having them run their code. It took a long time and it was difficult giving feedback. Sometimes they would email me their assignments, so you can imagine what that's like with coding. I'd have to take the code, paste it into whatever IDE we were using and run it. So CodeHS kind of simplifies all of that kind of stuff. We're not going to get into the tools part of CodeHS today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about that. So if you want to take a deeper dive, you absolutely can. We're going to look more at the free curriculum. So all of the cyber courses and all the materials that are in there. And I'll kind of emphasize that throughout. All of our curriculum is completely free. We have a lot of teacher tools that are also free, and then we have certain portions that are paid, like the gradebook. But everything I'm going to be showing you today is 100% free for you to use. You can even change it, manipulate it because we have an actual learning management system. So you can take our content and tweak it, make it your own, add your own content, all that cool stuff. All right, so when I found CodeHS in 2018, I applied for a job as a curriculum developer, and my very first assignment out of the gate was to develop the first ever 6th through 12th grade, actually 2 versions of it, cybersecurity course. At the time, I knew about this much about cybersecurity, so I was a little bit afraid, but I felt like, well, they've got confidence in me to make this course. I can probably do this. And I ended up doing it and absolutely loved it, learned so much about cybersecurity. And that was version 1, so 2 summers ago. We have since created a version 2. We now have an advanced cybersecurity course, and I'm going to talk about that one a little bit today. And we also have a middle school course. So if you're a middle school teacher, there's definitely a course here for you as well. I've since stepped up in the CodeHS world. I'm now the director of professional development, so I get to do cool things like this, like work with a lot of teachers and showing our tools and showing our curriculum. All right, so just a few quick things about Zoom. Because this is a super small group, there might be times where I'll just have you unmute yourself or just throw things into the chat, so it'll be pretty informal. I ask that you do stay muted or keep your audio off until I ask for something like that, if that's the case. I know sometimes people have things going on in the background, and so you might not want to unmute yourself, or you might not be able to type into the chat if you're doing something with a kid or whatever. I get that. You show up, you want to get information, that's fine. So participate at whatever level works and makes sense for you this morning. There are some reaction stuff in there too. If you want to use that, there's clapping, thumbs up, that kind of stuff. Those are all at the bottom. You can respond in whatever way is easiest for you today. All right. In addition to that Start Here document that has all the major links, I also have a parking lot document. And often when we do PD workshops with groups, we have a couple of people with us. I'm solo today. So if you have any off-topic questions, I'm pretty good about watching that chat and watching the parking lot document. But if you have some questions that are off-topic that maybe don't have to do with what I'm talking about, that parking lot document is a great place to put those questions. because I can refer back to that. I can email you, I can get information to you in another way if we don't get to it. And it's, within the time frame that we have today. All right, just some real quick introductions. If you can toss into the chat, just any of these, you can answer any or all of these, your name, what you teach, what school you're at, and your current teaching setup. So virtual, blended, hybrid, in person, whatever it is, if you can toss that into the chat, that would be great so I can get a sense of what our audience looks like. And what you teach, just focus in on, well, you can put everything down if you want, but mostly if it's computer science or cyber or something like that. Carolyn, APCSA, Wheaton, Warrenville. I lived in Wheaton for about 10 years. Love that town. It's beautiful. Currently remote. Cool. And CSA, challenging course. It took me about 3 years before I kind of really knew what I was doing, and learning Java was a challenge, but welcome. Geometry pre-calc. Oh, it's going fast now. Awesome. Everybody's typing and tossing in there. We're hybrid. Middle school technology. Okay, all subjects and blended. CS at Trinity High School. Cool. All right. Peoria, geometry. Okay, some math teachers. I was a former math teacher too, so those other 7 years of my 14 were teaching math. Pablo, intro to tech, 6th and 7th grade. Digital citizenship. I'm going to talk a little bit about digital citizenship. Cool. All right, well, welcome everybody. A nice, well-rounded group here. All right. So if you could also toss in maybe your learning goals. If you have one like burning question that you want to know about with cyber, or if it's just a general kind of thing, that's fine too. Toss that into the chat. I think my burning question when I first was asked to create a cybersecurity course was, how can we teach students about ethical hacking and not have them become bad hackers? That was a burning question for me, and we figured out how to do that. Because a lot of it is about preventing hacking. Yes, health. Increasing importance of CS in our world. We've got some thoughts about that. Getting more students involved. We probably won't get quite so much to the access and equity piece, but we can try to tangentially talk about that. Okay. All right, so if you do not have a CodeHS account yet, here's where you can sign up for one. We will be using a demo course. You don't have to do this. If it's easier for you just to follow along and watch what I'm doing, that's totally fine. But if you do want to follow along a little bit, or if later on you want to play with some things, this is where you can create a CodeHS account. So it's at codehs.com/sign-up-teacher. Once you have that account, or if you already have an account, you can get to the demo course by going to the link I'm going to toss into the chat now. So if you have sign into your account, take that link and should open up a fresh browser window. When it does, there is a join code that's to ABBA, that T2ABBA, that will be the join code and will get you into the demo course. And I'm going to show you just real quickly on my end what I see as a teacher, because I think you'll like this tool if you decide to use it. Let's see, it looks like it closed for me, so. All right, so when I open up my teacher account for CodeHS, I can see all of the courses that I have created, all the sections I've created, and this one is the IDEA Cyber Courses Workshop. And I can literally watch, I have to refresh the browser, but I can watch as people enter my class. And this is exactly how kids can enter your course on CodeHS as well. So right now I see Pablo's in, Ms. Gauss is in, and Chuck is in. So I'll keep monitoring that throughout. And if you don't get in, I can help you at different points, but the goal really here is just to kind of share the curriculum with you. If you really want to get in and you have some issues, throw that into that parking lot doc that I shared, and I'll make sure later that we make sure that you get into your account okay. All right, again, that's the demo course. All right, so 2 weeks ago today, exactly, we ran a digital citizenship workshop. And I just wanted to let you know about that because it was a free workshop. So IDEA has graciously hosted that on their website. And you can go back and take a peek at that. And I know we have a handful of middle school teachers, and digital citizenship is usually a really important topic at that level. So you might want to take a look at that digital citizenship workshop. But basically what we covered was digital footprint and reputation, teaching strategies, cyberbullying. We looked a little bit more into managing courses and sections. We looked at internet safety, privacy and security, information literacy, and creative credit and copyright. It's an amazing module that I think, honestly, I think every kid in the state of Illinois should have something with digital citizenship and cyber hygiene. So we have a good module for that. So if you want to take a peek at that workshop or that module, you absolutely can. So for today, I'm going to go through a really quick overview of what CodeHS is. It'll be like 5 minutes so you understand some context, what the site is about. And then we're going to dive into what we call the Fun of Cyber course. It's the fundamentals of cybersecurity. We'll do some module and lesson deep dives. So I'll talk about the structure of the course, the syllabus a bit, but then we're going to do some deep dives in a couple of the lessons. The What is Cyber lesson, famous ciphers lessons, and then a little bit on inside web apps. We might get kind of close on time there, so I might kind of clip through that. You will have access to all the slides, and obviously the curriculum, you can access any of that. So if we don't get too much depth on that lesson, you can definitely look at it. We'll look a little bit at creating sections. So if you decide to use some of the content, you can make a section for your students and share the content out that way. And then we'll take a peek at the Advanced Cyber course. That's a brand new course that we just launched this summer that really levels up after the Fun of Cyber course. All right, so what is this CodeHS? CodeHS is, the word we like to use to describe it is it's a comprehensive platform for teaching computer science in middle schools and high schools. We are looking a little bit at maybe doing some elementary things for next year. So if you know some elementary teachers or you're thinking about it, we're seriously, or you're teaching some elementary classes, we're seriously looking at that. So just kind of keep that on your radar if that's an interest of yours. We have a completely web-based curriculum. So you do not need a separate development environment for that. You can do everything in the web browser, which is amazing. So we have auto graders that will auto grade code for you in Java, Python, JavaScript, and other languages as well. With sharing the slide deck. Well, heck, I will absolutely look at that. So like I said, we are looking at elementary courses as well. We're not going to give you, we'll just do view on there. All right, done. Apologies. All right. We also have online and offline professional development, and you're part of that right now. And we also have a full platform with teacher tools and tons of resources. So it started back in 2012, 2 guys, Jeremy and Zach, fantastic guys. They're very involved with teachers, even though they have this bigger company, and they work closely with all of us. And they're just super excited guys about getting computer science to every kid that we possibly can. So our mission is to empower all students to meaningfully impact the future. Cybersecurity is absolutely part of that. It's been part of our computer science world for some time now. The problem is a lot of schools still don't teach computer science. We're not even at 50% yet in the nation, and I know we're not there for Illinois either. we'll talk about that briefly in a little bit. So we have a long ways to go in terms of getting computer science courses out to students. We consider ourselves a one-stop shop. A lot of teachers will only use us. I know when I taught APCSA though, and CSA teachers are kind of like this, and I know we have at least one in the room, we tend to cobble together a lot of different resources because we don't feel one can completely meet our needs. I think I would probably, if I were teaching CSA again, I probably could lean mostly into CodeHS. Maybe a few supplemental, but I could lean a lot into our new Nitro course. All right, so here are basic courses, just a curriculum pathways. 6th grade starts with Carol the dog and JavaScript, and then Tracy the turtle with Python. And then we have web design, and we have computing ideas, and we go all the way through APCSA. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner, we've got cybersecurity. Now, there is a middle school cyber version that can be definitely dovetailed in there, and there are also now 2 cyber versions that you can do at the high school level. We'll get into that. And we've got online PD courses as well. So you don't need any kind of plugins or IDE or anything like that. Amazing auto graders and tracking tools. These are some of our tools. I just throw this slide out there so you can see all the stuff that we have. So we have progress tracking, problem guides, very robust lesson plans, access control so you can set due dates, you can turn things on and off for individual students in the class, all kinds of cool stuff. All right. Any questions about just what CodeHS is in general before we jump into these cyber courses? And again, thanks for letting me know when stuff's not working. I will keep on top of that. Let me peek into the parking lot doc real quick and see if anything's going on in there. Nope. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we have these fundamentals and advanced versions of courses, and then the middle school version as well. And we cover topics like digital citizenship and cyber hygiene, cryptography, network security. These can be semester or full year. Sometimes our teachers will just take out one module. So like the digital citizenship and cyber hygiene, I know middle school teachers sometimes have like tech courses where they can cobble together different kinds of things. So sometimes they'll just take one module or 2 modules, maybe the coding with Carol module and digital citizenship and cyber hygiene. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what you want to use. And this little animated Jiffy here is just one of it's our Visioneer cipher in our cryptography module. All right, so in our course catalog, and I'm going to jump to that to show you how to use that, and I'm going to also toss that into the chat so you can start taking a look at it. But when you look at our course catalog, you can search, and I showed you that pathway that had like 8 or 10 courses on it. We literally have hundreds of courses. Every course that we make, we also make state versions of those courses. We also have custom clients that want like K-12 and others, and they want these real customized courses. So we have lots and lots of courses. But if you go to our course catalog and you just type in cyber, it will bring up all the versions of cybersecurity that we have. So here's the fundamentals, Introduction to Cyber Caesar, and that is the middle school version. So if you want to take a peek at that, you can. Alberti is a different flavor too. I don't remember what the distinction is, but most people use, start out with this fundamentals of cyber course or the Caesar version, which is for middle school. Then we have our brand new advanced cybersecurity course. The Visioneer used to be the high school version. And then if you notice, we have like Georgia, Texas, Indiana, Virginia, South Carolina. There are a lot of states that have created standards, or they've adopted the CSTA standards, and they've had us make customized courses for them. Side note, Illinois is not there yet. We have a ways to go. As a state, we don't even have computer science standards yet. I know, kind of crazy. We're behind. We need to catch up, but there are a lot of different groups. IDEA is kind of part of that too, that are working on that. So once we have standards, we'll have some things that we can do for teachers in terms of professional development and whatnot. And maybe we'll have a CodeHS Illinois aligned cyber course and some other courses too. All right, any questions on just using the course catalog and taking a peek at things there? You can view the units, the syllabi, you can enroll in the course, you can learn more, you can assign it to your students, and I'll show you that a little bit later. And you can also add it to your courses. So there's some different options, but any questions about just the course catalog in general? Okay. Let's dive into the fun of cyber course. So I'm going to give you an overview of what's in the course, and then we're going to kind of dovetail in a couple of the lessons. So the course philosophy is about, as we all know, technology is expanding, and the number of connected devices we have with those Internet of Things, all these things require additional levels of security and networking experts. And literally every single year, new job descriptions are coming out for cybersecurity because new problems and issues start to arise. There are lots of open jobs, over 300,000 job openings within that field. So within the course, our goal is really to not get students ready to do a job, but they're going to have so much foundational knowledge that they could potentially do some work as an intern, or they could also continue their studies and in college do some different things. But there are a lot of, I would say, a fair number of people who work in the cyber field who do not have a degree in cybersecurity because there's so many job openings, and industries, organizations are just looking for someone who knows how to do things. So they can get things through micro-credentials or a 6-month training, a 3-month boot camp, those kinds of things. And companies are snapping these people up because there's just not enough people to fill all of these jobs. And there's a lot of them in Illinois as well. So students will learn about real world applications of network and security concepts so that they can kind of start to open their minds about what are all the different things I can do within the field of cybersecurity. So they learn on a web-based platform. It's a really visual, dynamic, and very interactive course. It might surprise you to know that the actual field of cybersecurity does not involve a lot of coding. So it's not a lot of programming like you would think, like what a software engineer does. You have to understand some code, and you have to understand how bad attackers might attack a system and what you need to do to circumvent that and how to build in securities. But it's not like they're sitting down writing a lot of code. So within the course itself, to make it engaging so they learn the content, there are a lot of simulations that the kids will run so they can experience things from the end user perspective. They can experience things from the admin, like a network admin perspective, software security perspective, a lot of different perspectives, so they can see what this looks like and really get under the hood of what cybersecurity is all about. So the fundamentals of cyber course is for high school students grades 10 through 12, but we do have that middle school course sitting out there that has a lot of these concepts in them. So it's definitely not just for high school kids. It's nice if they've got some exposure to computer science, but there's no real course prerequisite. They don't really have to have any coding background. It can help if they know a little bit of HTML, a little bit of JavaScript, but that's not really a requirement. Where that's needed in the course, so when they get into things like SQL injection, or they have to know about cross-site scripting and things like that, we bring those concepts in. So we give them enough so that they don't have to go outside to another course and learn about it. So we do give them a little bit of programming, a little bit of HTML, a little bit of JavaScript, and a fair amount of SQL so that they can know enough of the language so they can figure out how to set up a secure site or a secure web application. All of our courses are like this, but this one is too. There are short video tutorials. There are example programs, and these are usually simulations the kids can run right in the browser. They're amazing for virtual teaching, so you can literally demo things like, and I'm going to show you how you can do it. we'll do it exactly this way. There are quizzes that are based on the videos that are usually 2 to 5 questions long. They're not really, they're real formative, like just checking that the kids actually either watched the video on their own or that they were paying attention when you showed the video. Simulations, some programming exercises, and then free response prompts. So you can ask questions about specific things, and we also have tons of questions already built in. So it's designed for your typical year-long class that meets 5 days a week, but you can implement it in a variety of ways, and our lesson plans will delineate the different ways that you can deliver lessons if you're in a different kind of setup. And if you ever have any questions about, well, I teach in a block and we're only teaching virtually once or twice a week, and now it's all jacked up, we can definitely help you figure out how that can look in terms of lesson planning. So here are the modules. The very first one is, what is cybersecurity? That's a great place to start. What is this thing called cybersecurity? And they learn about recent threats, big ones, and how threats are happening all the time with lots of companies, because there are many, many websites, once you start learning about it, that are not secure. And the ways that hackers can get into websites and into databases and things like that are really not that complicated. The two most prominent ways of that still for the last 20 or 30 years, because sites are so vulnerable, are SQL injection and cross-site scripting. The amount of code that you need to do is very simple. I'm not kidding you when I say this. A 3-year-old could type in the amount of code that you need to do a SQL injection or any kind of cross-site scripting, which is mind-blowing. So it's kind of crazy that these sort of vulnerabilities still sit out there with different websites and web apps, but they do. Companies are trying to improve their sites, but it takes a while. It just takes some time. And then also hackers become more and more nefarious and figure out other ways of getting into sites and data and things like that. The second module, this is the one we covered in the first workshop, is on digital citizenship and cyber hygiene. So things like the digital footprint, cyberbullying, and those kinds of things, citing quality resources online. And then we have a programming fundamentals, which is with Carol the dog and JavaScript. Super fun module. If you do no other modules besides that are in this course, if you just do the digital citizenship and programming fundamentals, they're amazing. It's a great place to start. Then the next module is the ABCs of cryptography, and we're going to do a lesson from that one that is a lot of fun. But students dive into the history of cryptography systems, why we need encryption in the first place, and they get to explore topics around cryptography and decoding messages and why we need to even have encryption in the first place. And then we continue on with system administration. This will look at, they will compare and contrast different operating systems, so Windows, Linux, Mac operating systems, and explains the importance of application security. They get to run different simulations that enforce authentication and authorization, all that cool stuff. And they also get to work in a command line window that's completely web-based. You don't have to use it. They don't have to do anything locally. They can do everything on a web browser, and you'll be able to see what they're doing in the command line. Then after that is a software security module. So this is where they get to look at the developer tools inside of Chrome, or you can look in other web browsers too. They learn some basic SQL programming, so they can explore SQL injection and learn how to prevent that huge vulnerability that exists on a lot of sites. Then there's networking fundamentals. So here they learn about the internet, the biggest network in the whole world, and then small networks and how these get hacked and how they can protect data, how to protect their own personal privacy, and networking protocols and all that cool stuff. And then I think this is the last one, IT infrastructure. They learn about the actual physical elements of a computer. So networking, motherboards, RAM, routers, port numbers, all that stuff. And these are also supported by simulations. Now, with this said, unlike a coding course or a math course where everything builds really sequentially, and you got to kind of do one part before you do the next. Cybersecurity is not like that. Most of these modules you could flip around and change the order because they are completely independent of each other. So if you decide you want to do software security before sysadmin, which I might do if I were teaching it, you can absolutely move that around and do it that way. There are also projects that are embedded in the course. Public service announcement is the first one with the digital citizenship. Classic ciphers, the students get to learn about a lot of classic ciphers outside of the ones that are taught in the course. They get to create a security assessment report. So there's a fair amount of writing. I don't think that's a bad thing. As a former math teacher and a computer science teacher, I still felt writing was really important because it's a skill that I think kids need to know how to do. They also learn about troubleshooting. So how to be kind of a tech support or a network support person. And then we have a lot of supplementary material that's sitting in there too. So we have stuff on cryptocurrency. I wrote those modules as well. Really fun to learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, some web development, and then some more on SQL. And I'm just going to kind of walk through a couple of the demos that are sitting here, just to give you an idea of the simulations. This is a phishing simulation, and this literally they can run in the web browser. It simulates an email inbox with sample phishing examples, so you can kind of test the kids on whether or not they will fall for a phishing attempt via email. And you can have some great conversations around this, about why how you can tell if something is a bad email. There's another demo or a simulation on how they can be tracked. So students are shown the different ways that mouse movements and keyboard strokes can be tracked and used. So they see that in a simulation as well. And this course is completely aligned to the CompTIA ITF Plus certification, and it's also partially aligned to portions of the A+ certifications, if you were interested in that. And the syllabi, so you can see that, and basically our landing page for that. I'm going to put that into the chat just now so you can take a peek. I've basically gone over the syllabi in talking about the modules, and it gives, how long in the syllabi, it gives how long each of the modules takes approximately, and where the projects go and all of that stuff. But before we dive into the next part, which is a lesson, are there any questions about just the overview of the fundamentals of cyber course? Nope. Okay. All right. So we're going to look at the first lesson, what is cyber? What is cybersecurity? And in this is a module. It's a shorter module at the beginning, but it just creates some foundation for the kids before they jump into all these other things. It gives an introduction to cybersecurity, why focusing on cybersecurity is important, recent threats to cyber, and the different careers that are in the career field. So my question to you is, and don't put this in chat, I'm going to have you do it in a Padlet actually, and this should be shared just fine, but I'll pull it up and just to make sure. It's actually not a Padlet, it's a Jamboard, which is very much like Padlet. I'm going to put that in there. What do you think of when you hear the word cybersecurity? And there is the Jamboard. And we've got, okay, so you can get in, yay, cool. So, and the way to use it is you just go over to the left here and you just click sticky note, and that'll bring up a little prompt where you can type in a word or phrase or sentence or whatever you want. So it's really similar to Padlet, probably not quite as robust, but it's just a nice, cool, very quick tool you can use with your kids, as a bell ringer. You can use it as a quick exit slip, or the way I'm using it right now, just to start the lesson. So as you're creating these, I will see them populate. I'm also going to, while you're doing that, I'm going to peek to see that everybody that wanted to get into the demo course could. Okay, we have 8 students in there, so it looks like a lot of you are in there. So I can definitely on that start here document has the how to get a CodeHS account and how to join the demo course. And this will give you access. You can access this on out of our course catalog too, but this puts you in a section where you can see the entire fundamentals of cyber course. So let's see. Oops. Yeah, and once you make your post-it, drag it so that they're kind of spread out like a little collage and we can see everybody's awesome. You guys are amazing. Protection for your computer from hackers, yes. Being safe while on the World Wide Web, yes. Keeping information on computers and networks private, you bet. Jobs, yeah, that's a good one. Protecting digital resources from unauthorized access. This is good. These are pretty good. I'd say these are kind of quasi definitions or things that what you think of. Awesome. Knowing your risks while using technology, like that one. These are all great. Cool. Security online. Awesome. Okay. Those are perfect. All right. So we have a quick video that we would normally show that talks about what is cybersecurity. And I want to make sure we get to everything in this, and I have so much planned. I'm a typical teacher, over plan, and want to make sure I show you so many cool things. Basically, it gives an overview of what cybersecurity is, and it talks about the Equifax breach, the ransom, oh, I've lost it. It's on the next slide, I think. The WannaCry, yes, WannaCry ransomware attack and those kinds of things. So it's a great way to introduce kids to cyber, and it gets them thinking about recent attacks that they may not have all the information on, and they might be surprised at how many people were affected in these attacks. All right, I am going to show you this simulator though, because I think this is a good, we have a lot of really good simulators, but let me find it. And that will give me a chance to also show you our coding environment. So I'll just give you a quick tour of this. On the left-hand side, if you open that up, there we go. It shows navigation for the entire course. You can see all those modules that I talked about in the projects and so forth. And we can also close that down and make this a little bit bigger. I can also make the font bigger here if I want to increase it on the code editor. All right, and it's a teeny bit sluggish when you're zooming and sharing your screen and running anything, things kind of slow down. But anyways, the code here is not that critical. You can talk about the code with your kids on the simulators if you want, but that's not really the point of these. The simulations are more for kids to be able to see what can happen on a web application or on a website. So when I go to run this, notice what's happening. I get this message. Hi, I'm Calico, a black hat hacker. I mean, this would not happen, this obviously. This is fun. I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm encrypting your files. And notice it looks like an executable file running hacker.cat or hackercat.exe. It looks like an executable file on your computer. You can see that something's happening. This is a great discussion opener for what would you do if you saw something this crazy coming up on your machine. So it says, I can decrypt. It says, I'm encrypting your files. You will not be able to access them. I can decrypt and return. And then it says, you need to send me X amount of Bitcoin, or I'm going to take everything you have. So just toss into the chat that, I mean, obviously this is a playful example. Toss into the chat what you would do if you, or maybe what you have done in the past, if you've downloaded an executable file that starts running something on your machine that you're like, man, I did not expect that. What kinds of things have you done or would you do in a situation like that? Any thoughts? Because it is kind of freaky. Turn off the computer, hold on the power button. Okay, yep, I think unplug. Turn off, yep. These things could definitely work. If you're fast enough, you could go into your system controls and shut down the application, the executable file, delete it, run screaming to my student hackers. Yeah, try to delete the file right away. Yeah, try to force quit. Yep, yep. So this is a great thing to start talking to your students about, brainstorming ideas about, well, what do you do when something like this happens? Because it does happen. And it's easy to go to a website and accidentally, you think you're downloading something safe and it's not. So the simulation is a good discussion starter and ways to get the kids thinking about it. This is just one. We have loads of them in the course. All right. So they also within the course, we look at different scenarios. It's very scenario based. So it really puts the kids in the position of thinking about what if my home got hacked? So we think about Alexa or Google devices in our home that we can use for, asking about the weather and, connecting to the internet and ordering stuff on Amazon with our speech, whatever. What if one of those devices got hacked, or your home got hacked, or your car got hacked? Because the car is also connected to the internet. It's part of the Internet of Things. These scenarios really help the kids put themselves in positions of, well, yeah, that's kind of freaky. Any device I have somehow connected to the internet could somehow be hacked because it's, the data for that device is living out there. So these are great ways to get kids thinking about what do you do to protect your own data and to protect yourself. So the exit ticket or the exit question about this in this lesson is why is it important to learn about cybersecurity? And this is a great way to sort of end the lesson and get the kids thinking about, well, what's next? What kinds of ways can attackers find my stuff, and what kinds of, it gets them really starting to think about what that can look like. And I also wanted to show you here at this point, I'm going to show you our lesson plan so you can see what those look like because they're pretty robust, but we focus in on vocabulary. So vocabulary is important pretty much in any content area, but it's especially important in this particular computer science course because there's a fair amount of it. So what is cyber? What is security? What is cybersecurity? What's the Internet of Things? We reinforce that in the lesson plans. We have lots of different resources. So when I pop back to the course and I go into the assignments area, and our site is way faster. It's just Zoom. If I can switch to student view so I can see the way you're seeing the course. And within that, you can see the structure of the course. So like in this what is cyber module, each one of these is an individual lesson. So you can see all the different things in the lessons. Every lesson has at least one video, sometimes two. Sometimes we have our own video lessons. We also have connections that are outside of CodeHS that are on YouTube. And I know a lot of districts will block YouTube, but for many of these, we also have a safe YouTube URL that you can use so you can have you or your students access the video safely and not have to worry about YouTube issues. Here's the quiz that goes with it. The things that are called examples are usually simulations. And then we also have different coding exercises. So it pretty much follows the same format through all of the course. So lesson, and then within that, videos, connections, quizzes, examples, and so forth. But let's pop back here. So these are the different kinds of things that are available. In the lesson plan, we have discussion questions, videos, examples, exercises, and these could be free response questions where you're asking about something and they answer that. Connections, simulations, handouts. We have a lot of offline handouts too. So if you are ever in person again, you can use those hard copies. You can also, because they're all Google Docs, you could make copies for yourself and then push them out via Google Classroom. or just push them out via Google Drive and share them with your kids that way. There are also end of class discussion questions and lesson plans. But I'm going to peek at this first one so you can see what the lesson plans look like. Generally, the first 5 lesson plans or so in every course are free. These are one of the things that is on the pro side. The rest of them are pro. We have a lot of teachers who stay on the free plan. And what they do is they look at our initial lessons and use those as models or templates for subsequent lessons that they're doing if they don't have access to pro. But anyways, in the lesson plan, we give an overview of what the lesson's about. What are the objectives? So students should be able to define cybersecurity, describe Internet of Things, and how those things can make people be more vulnerable to cyber attacks. And then they reflect on recent cyber attacks and identify the societal impact of those attacks. It shows all of the lessons. All of our videos also come with the corresponding slides. So if you decide, you know, I don't want the kids to watch the video, I would rather walk through the slides myself as a teacher, and there are definitely some lessons I might do that with, you can absolutely do that. Solution references. So any exercises that are there, you'll have access to all the solutions, unless they're free response. Well, we do give like sample free response questions, but those you're going to want to look at anyways, because kids will word things in a different way and whatnot. Even if you're on free and you don't get on pro, we have all of the exercise solutions you can access. Problem guides to help through like different coding exercises, vocabulary handouts. So this one, I would say about every other lesson has handouts. Some lessons have more than one handout. We have a teacher version that has a complete answer key and student versions that you can obviously share with your kids. Planning notes, and then basically the lesson plan, what you can do in the lesson opener, how to run the activities for the lesson, and then a lesson closer, any prior knowledge, the slides, the discussion questions. So if you just want to pull those out and use them the way I used it with a Jamboard, you can totally do that. And then all the standards that they're aligned to. I'm not going to scroll down this because as soon as a new state comes online with standards, we align to them right away. So once Illinois is there, you'll see that alignment sitting there as well. All right, so there are different ways you can massage the lessons too. The videos you can watch, have the kids watch on their own before they come to class and do kind of a flipped lesson, or you can watch them together as a class and you can pause at different points. We also have teachers who take our videos and put them on Edpuzzle and intersperse questions throughout, which is a cool way to do it. Or you can do, like I said, where you just walk through the slides and you talk through the slides themselves. Oops, oh, sorry. Then there are discussion questions. You can do them as reflections. You can do them as exercises, or you can discuss them as a whole class, whatever makes sense. All right, so after the what is cyber module is that digital citizenship and cyber hygiene. It does make sense to do the what is cyber before you do this one, and that has all of those different modules or lessons that are sitting in there. Then we have programming fundamentals with Carol the dog. That can be done at any time. And then the ABCs of cryptography, and then the classic cipher. So I want to pause there for a second because I've shared a good bit already. Before I jump into a specific module, and this one's on cryptography, it's a very fun module. Are there any questions about the what is cyber module, about the layout of the course, where to find things? I'm going to peek at the, opening the wrong one, here we go. Okay, nothing in the parking lot, that's fine. You can just throw things into the chat. Oh, that's a great question, Carolyn. It's a good idea to work through the entire course first. I wouldn't say that you necessarily have to. I mean, I would want to know, like, have a good lay of the land, what's coming, so you know if you want to do something in a different order. and move things around. Then once you decide on, hey, this is the order I want, I would probably work through the first module or two. Like if ideally, here's the ideal scenario. You work through as much of the course as you can in the summer before the school year starts. If you're a module or two ahead of the kids, you're going to be totally fine. With that said, I'm going to be honest. As a teacher, I know a lot of things we have to do kind of on the fly. And the first time we teach something, it's scary as heck. The first time I taught APCSA, I was a day or two ahead of the kids. I tried really hard to get further ahead, but I just never could because there was so much in that course. You know, that would be the ideal scenario. I'd say probably with this course, what's more important is knowing the order you're going to do things in first. And then, you know, okay, I need to get a good handle on modules 1 and 2, maybe. Oh, Karen, that's no problem. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can pop back in and watch the rest of it because I am going to do a really fun cryptography lesson. So, but thank you so much for joining us. All right, any other questions? 5th through 8th, absolutely, absolutely. So Ingrid, if you look in the course catalog and look at that middle school version, you'll see a lot of these modules are in in for middle school, and it's definitely, I taught middle school myself as well for 5 years, 6th grade, so about as low as you can go, not 5th grade, but I did 6th grade, and I can totally see myself using virtually all these materials. Oh, good, Karen, yes, I hope you do an hour of code. We have a lot of hour of codes. We did an hour of code webinar when we first kicked off our partnership with IDEA like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I think Jenna has probably the link. There's a link for that sitting on the IDEA website. So I walked through in that webinar how to, all of our hour of codes, how to run them. So hopefully you can do that next month. Cool, very cool. And we do have some that are related to what we're going to do next on cryptography. Any other questions? Oh, all right. All right, so in the cryptography module, who doesn't love like secret messages? This one is so much fun. Students dive into the history of cryptography systems, the motivation behind using encryption systems, and how basic cryptography systems actually work. And they get to explore topics on how to use cryptography and how to decode a message without the use of a key and that kind of thing. Oh, thanks for sharing that out, Jenna. There's the hour code webinar. So what I'm going to do in this lesson, in the previous one, I had the video sitting there and we could have watched that, but I wanted to save a little bit of time. In this lesson, I'm going to actually walk through the slides, which is another way to deliver our lesson. So we're going to do a brief history, and cryptography is the practice of encoding information so only authorized people can read it. So I want you to toss into the chat why we would need to keep information secret. And it can be anything. Limit exposure, yes. Oh yeah, HIPAA, oh my gosh, financial transactions, company secrets, yes, like trade secrets, perfect. These are all amazing examples. Yeah, big ones. All right. So why do we encrypt? Well, humans have always had a reason to kind of hide information, and it really became important during battle. Like, how do you, whether it's, you know, during times of battle, you want to send a message to the front lines, or you want to send a message back to the general or whatever, they had different ways of encrypting these messages between specific groups. So it was this is really kind of how it really started, was they needed top secret codes to control how warfare was happening. So early leaders in politics and war found the advantages of message encryption. And so they used these things called substitution ciphers that have been around for a long time. We're going to talk about a couple of those substitution ciphers. All right, so why do we need to encrypt now? Well, with modern technology, we just have a lot more information to keep secret. You know, it's not just about wartime stuff, but we have social security information, birth certificate data, banking information. So when Ingrid brought up financial transactions, Joan brought up HIPAA laws. Oh my gosh, health stuff, absolutely. Digital signatures that all identify us online. So there are lots of things that we need to protect now. So modern cryptography focuses on digital data, and all private digital data ranging from like top secret government data, think like WikiLeaks kind of stuff, to your school login password. That all needs to be protected. And there are a number of different cryptography methods that range in complexity, but it's always important to add some layer of encryption. Passwords are important, two-factor authentication, safe web browsing, having a password manager. These are all really good ways to protect your data. So we are going to watch this video briefly. So let me go into it. It's on the Caesar cipher, which is a classic cipher. I don't want that one. We skip that one. And we'll just watch a piece of it.
Learn about the Caesar cipher. So first, for some background, the Caesar cipher was named after Julius Caesar, who used this encryption method around 45 BC. Caesar used this technique to send messages to his military, so even if his enemies intercepted a message, they would not be able to understand it. The Caesar cipher is fairly simple. Each letter of a message is shifted a certain amount, and that amount is called the key. So if I'm looking at a key of 1, A would shift once to become B, B becomes C, and then Z would loop around and become A. So if I'm sending a message, attack tonight, with a key of 2, I'm going to shift each letter of this message by 2. So A shifted twice becomes C, both of the T's shifted twice become V, and so on until the rest of my message is encrypted. Now my enemy doesn't have the key, so if they intercept this message, they won't be able to understand what it means. But the person I'm sending this message to knows my key, so they know how to decrypt my message, and they just need to shift in the opposite direction with a key of 2 to read my message. Just a quick vocabulary reminder, the encrypted message is called plain text, and it's easily readable by humans. And ciphertext is the result of encryption on plain text. It is unreadable.
Okay, so we're going to pause there, and you can watch the whole thing with your students. But you get the general idea of how that Caesar cipher works. So whatever the key is, it's going to shift we're going to shift the number or the letters over that number of spaces, and then you get this kind of gobbledygook message that has to be de-encrypted on the other end but the person on the other end would have that key. So solving the Caesar cipher, you can do it by brute force with trial and error. There's only 26 possible keys because that's how many letters are in the alphabet, but a computer can do this in like milliseconds, maybe even less than that. You can also do a letter frequency analysis. So you can look at combinations of letters occurring with varying frequency. The distribution is pretty much the same, which is kind of surprising across all written samples of language. So, you can see there's a lot of E's, there's a lot of A's, there's a lot of T's and S's and so forth. So you can use that to break a cipher. Z, Q, and X are rare, so we look at the frequency distribution and we can try to guess the corresponding plain text and start to link up. Well, if I see K a lot in the ciphertext, that might represent E in the encoded text. So every letter is going to be shifted by the same key. This is really easy to solve. Computers can do it like that. We have a simulation that shows the kids the Caesar cipher, and this one is, let's see, so you can play with it directly in the course if you want. If you haven't got into the demo course yet, that's totally fine, but if you do want to jump in there and play with it, I've put the link out there, but I'm also going to demo it. Here it is. So the way this one runs when you work on this with the kids is they can put in plain text. So I'm going to do or do not their is no try. We know who said that, right? And I'm going to use a shift of 13. I'm going to encrypt it, and I get this kind of what looks like gobbledygook kind of message. So they can, and again, they don't have to know this code over here. This is just to run the simulation, but some kids might want to look under the hood and go, hey, how does this simulator work? So they can also change, the shift and decrypt it in a different way. So one thing you can do with the kids is pass messages back and forth and have them play with this and discuss how this method of encryption works. Then we also have one that will decrypt a message based on a key. And I'll share out that simulation too if you're in the demo course. This link I'm sharing with you, this is a cool tool we have. So when you try to point to kids and say, oh, go here in the course, you usually will have a few kids that get lost, like, where'd you go, Miss Sloan, where are you at? You can literally grab a link to anything in your course and share that with them virtually or in class or whatever, and that will force it to open for them. So you don't have that fumbling around the first 5 or 10 minutes getting them to the right thing. So we have this decrypt Caesar one. I'm going to grab my encrypted, and I have a, let me re-encrypt that. Oh, shoot. I think I'll grab that news 13. I think it'll still work. So we have the decrypt one, that simulator, and I'll put that in there. Let's see if that happens. I might have played with it a little too much. If I made it 13, yay, do or do not, there is no try. So they can see how that works, and you can talk about decrypting these encoded messages. All right, so the Caesar cipher, super easily cracked, right? So there's only 26 keys. It doesn't take too long to figure it out, even if you don't have the key to decipher a message. So at this point, we have another lesson that follows up where we talk about the Visionaire cipher. And this is literally a leveling up of the Caesar cipher. It's an encryption method that uses a series of interwoven Caesar ciphers based on the letters of a key word. And we're going to walk through the slides on this. We're not watching the video. So the Caesar cipher, every shift is in the same key. The Visionaire cipher consists of several Caesar ciphers in sequence with different shift values. So let me show you what that means. It's based on a keyword. So here's how it works. So I have that same message, attack tonight. Key equals dog. So what we do is we take the original message and we use that key dog and line up all the letters dog, dog, dog for everything that's in attack tonight. Then we apply a shift to that. So every time we have a D in the key, we're going to shift 3 places. Every time we have an O, we're going to shift 14 places. Every time we have a G, we're going to shift 6 places. So A is a shift of 3. So A goes B, C, D, we get to D. O has a shift of 14. So we start at T and we go U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Okay. And then we get to G, and that's a shift of 6. So T goes U, V, W, X, Y, Z. And we keep that pattern going, and we end up with this encrypted message. Now, are you starting to see this might be a little bit harder to decrypt? You've got Caesar ciphers interwoven together, and you've got different shifts happening at each point in time. So brute force is not going to work on this one. The key can be any length you want. I just used dog, but it could be an even longer word to make it even harder. So there are infinite possibilities. This makes it really resistant to letter frequency analysis because there are all these multiple shifts going on. E would be encrypted as different cipher text at different points. So finding the most common cipher text is not going to work. You can find the key length by looking for patterns. Once you know that key length, that message can be solved by splitting it up and treating it as individual ciphers. The most famous Visionaire cipher was the Enigma machine. How many people have seen The Imitation Game? You can throw it in the chat. If you haven't, amazing movie, and it really talks about the Enigma. So, and this is a good thing you can use with your students. Maybe you can watch a portion of it or whatever makes sense. But the complexity of these substitution ciphers really progressed with the Enigma machine. This was built by the Germans. The Enigma had 3 rotors that would shift the key, as well as this randomized plug board that would add these multiple new rules on top of everything. A letter would be pressed, and then that would take that through the 3 rotating rotors. It would reflect off of a backboard and then come back through the 3 rotors. And the Germans changed these rules and reset them every single morning. So this was really, really difficult to crack. And so if you watch that movie, it gives obviously a dramatized version of what's happening, but really explains what happened with the Enigma machine. But this is the most classic Visionaire cipher ever. So in terms of cracking it, the Enigma had over, I can't even imagine this number, 158 quintillion settings. So 18 zeros after the 1. And Polish and British cryptanalysis teams, with the help of Alan Turing, invented bombs or these machines to automate this search for the daily Enigma settings and ultimately break the code for the day, and literally changed the course of World War II. So great, great story, and a great motivator for talking about encryption with students. All right, so again, we have vocabulary in the lesson. And also in the lesson plan, there's a lot of discussion questions that you can use there as well. Here are in that module itself, here are the actual lessons, and the ones that I pulled one from for what I did with you at a real quick pace, high level view with adults, obviously you're going to go into more depth with the kids, was the Caesar cipher, cracking Caesar cipher, and then the Visionaire cipher lesson. Are there any questions about that super fun cryptography module? And this is one you could also pull out and do as an independent module if you don't want to go through like the entire course, or you just don't have enough time with your kids if you only have them for a quarter or something like that. It's a fun way to get them introduced to cybersecurity without getting too far in the weeds with like vulnerabilities and network security and stuff like that. There's also a cool thing that you can make, and we have this in our lesson plans, which you can make with a Pringles can. You can have them make a Visionaire cipher. There are directions for it. You can find it pretty easily online, but it's also in the lesson plan. I don't see, Carolyn says, I don't see a timeline or general idea of how long it should take. That is in the syllabus. So every module will have like 2 to 4 weeks or whatever, but that will be in the syllabus. So let me pop that back out into the chat. And if you also look at the overview page, that gives a fair amount of information there too. Good question. Any other questions about cryptography? All right. So we used the video, the slides, we used simulations here. There are free responses. There are other connections in there. No way I could go through all that with you, but you can definitely take a peek either through the course catalog or that demo course. I put the entire fundamentals of cyber course into the demo course. There's offline handouts where they pass secret messages and discussion questions all in there as well. All right, so I just wanted to give you a peek at, so we have the fundamentals of cyber course. We also have the advanced cyber course. I wanted you to see what cryptography looked like in the advanced module. So we do encryption algorithms, symmetric encryption, hash functions, hash function development. There's some math involved here, so you definitely want to have the kids take the fundamentals course first. Asymmetric encryption, digital certificates, and those kinds of things. So pretty advanced topics, but lots of cool stuff. I was going to give you time, but we are down to like 14 minutes to do a module exploration. I'm hoping you can do that on your own, either through the demo course or through the course catalog. So definitely dive in and work through it as a student and play through some of those different lessons. After the cryptography module in the Fun of Cyber course is the system administration module. So here we look at operating systems compatibility, software and applications, software licenses, browser configuration, sysadmin, and command line interface. I would not do this with middle school kids, maybe high level 8th grade kids, but this is one I would reserve for high school. The cryptography one, I think you could do with absolutely do with middle school kids, but this one, no, this is definitely a high school module. And then they do a security assessment report there. All right, we are going to take a peek at the software security one because I think there are pieces of this you could definitely do can't speak anymore. You could definitely do with middle school kids, and they can learn some just basics about what happens under the hood of web apps and websites. So we have some introduction questions here. These are discussion questions. I'm probably going to just skim over this because I want to get to kind of the highlight and the meat of what's sitting in this module. But basically, we were looking at securing websites and web applications. And the very first thing that we do is we show kids how to look under the hood in a web browser. So we use Google Chrome as the example, but if you need to use another browser, that's fine. Though I think the developer tools are the best in Google Chrome, and most schools have Google Classroom and they're Google schools, so it kind of makes sense to use Google Chrome. But you can do view page source on any single website. And I just want to get a pulse on this. How many people have actually done this with a website where you look at the code that's sitting on a website with view page source? Okay, Carolyn's tried it. I see some yeses, a no, never. Okay, totally fine. You can view, and I'm going to show that in just a second, but you can see the source code all the time. Yeah, Jen, I know you do. You can see the source code that shows all the HTML, all the JavaScript, all the CSS or the cascading style sheets, all of that sitting there. And this is why things get attacked. All the code is open because that's the way we had to build the internet. That's the way we had to build the websites. Just looking at some questions. Is there a simulator workaround if our school blocks that? Good question. I know we do have some simulations in there on viewing page source, but so you can't get to the developer tools. I think we've put that into the course, but let me double check that, like workarounds for that. I might not be able to answer that today though, because it's Saturday, for blocked developer tools. I'm pretty sure we baked that in so that for that exact issue. So it's in the fundamentals and the advanced cyber course. This is useful to know for Google Forms as quizzes. Oh, so you can't see the data behind a Google form though. You can't. That's, and I don't know if you can see, I've not done it on a Google form. It's because it's not a website. I don't think a no there. They do? Well, that sucks. Maybe, I don't think they can, but now you have me wondering, and I think somebody asked me this a while ago. You have me wondering, I want to play. Okay, but you can see this just totally exposes to kids how easy it is to see stuff. They can see where images, I'm just going to walk through these, but I'm going to show you something very quickly with that you can do with your kids. It's pretty powerful. You can see images in the HTML, so they can see exactly where those live, and they can find those pretty easily. Those are in the image source tag. So here I've got one. This was like a car website or whatever. They can see all the source tags. So anything that links back to anything else, they can see where that's going. They can see the file types. They can see the navigation and the page layout. So if you do view source, you can see all this stuff is just sitting there. Unordered list items, anchor tags. So those would be your internal or external links. Here it's showing a style sheet. So they can, this is where I get my style sheets. When I build websites, it's been a while since I've done one. If I see one's really pretty and I like how it's laid out, I just go grab their style sheet and use it. Most of them are freely available or easy to grab. What's this one? Oh, the JavaScript. Here's a jQuery minified file for JavaScript. that is sitting there on how to use something. Now that's open source stuff, so you can get that anyways, but you can see it all. You can see how the whole site is built. The JavaScript, a lot of the JavaScript is sitting out there open. This is exactly how SQL injection happens. They take a look at the JavaScript and they go, oh, here's a vulnerability I can exploit. That's sitting there as well. If it looks like this, that means the code has been minified. They've taken out all the spaces and everything. Not a big deal for hackers. They can copy and paste this and unminify the code and easily see all the JavaScript and the HTML very, very, very easily. So it's not a big deal if it's minified. In this module, we also look at SQL, which is structured query language. So when they learn about SQL injection, they understand how databases work and how you can query a database and grab information from a database and so forth. Oh, view page, yeah, no problem. I'm going to show that. So I'm a little bit of a Star Wars junkie, if you haven't guessed. If you right click, you can go to view page source on any website on the planet, and I can see it all sitting right there. See all that? That's all the code. Now, there's stuff that's not in here. The database is not living here. The SQL is not living here. It's the HTML, it's the CSS, it's the JavaScript, but it's there. I want to show you something though. If I click an object and I go to inspect right below view page source, oh, please open, come on. Here we go, yeah. And let's say, yeah, Zoom is fighting me right now. I apologize. Doesn't like when I share screen. And let's say I go to here. I'm going to find it. Shoot. I'm trying. Here, I want to go to this, or maybe this. I'll just have one. It's just going very, very laggy for me here. I apologize. This is such a cool thing to demo for kids too, but it's just going really slowly for me. Yeah, it's not a pretty picture. Essentially, here's what can happen. If I right below that, I did inspect. This opens up the developer tools so I can look at the elements, the console, all this other stuff. Once this loads properly and I'm able to play with it, I can literally change a word here. Like if I wanted to change the High Republic to the Awesome Republic, I can change that. I can change the background color on that image that was up here. I can change anything that's like a text or button or image or whatever. This blows kids' minds because they go, hey, what are you talking about? Now, it doesn't change it on the actual website. It makes a local copy of that page, but it allows you to manipulate that entire page. And web developers use this to make sure that what they're making is going to look cool on the site. But you can show kids how easy this is to do, and it kind of blows their minds that all this stuff is sitting here right there in the developer tools and what you can do on a website. And it's a fun thing to demo. It's just not working well for me now because I have too many windows open and I've been sharing my screen a while and my Mac is saying forget it. So, but that is a cool thing to do. Again, that's under, you go to view page source, it's literally right under there, it's inspect. All right, and we wrap up the video, the module with common security problems, because this is where you get into kind of a delicate area where you want the kids, you really want to approach it from we are going to protect our own information. We want to help our families, our grandmas. We want to help them protect their information because we don't want grandma to get hacked. We don't want her personal identifying information out there. We don't want her health information. We have friends that we don't want to get hacked or whatever. And you have to approach it from we are protecting ourselves and we're protecting our family, our loved ones, and our friends. Because it's easy, kids in a lot of media, hackers get glamorized and romanticized, and those are fun stories to watch, but we don't want to for our kids to emulate those behaviors. So it's important for us to give them the notion of, no, you're protecting people, you're a superhero, you're the one that's going to stop the bad guys, and you're the one that's going to protect all of these people. So it's an important lens to have with your kids, and an agreement to have with your kids that they're not going to do anything nefarious on the web with what they learn. And we even make the kids sign an agreement at the beginning that says, I'm not going to use all the stuff that I have learned to do anything bad. And if you find out or you figure out your kids are doing something bad, you definitely want to step in on that. But if you lay the foundation properly at the beginning of the course, that it's about them getting cool jobs and protecting themselves and people and companies and things like that, we've not heard of teachers haven't told us they've had problems. It's about laying that foundation like you would do in any course. All right, so I'm going to skip over this because you can dig into the lesson plan and see all the stuff that I used. This is the software security module. I think you could do pieces of this with middle school. I don't know if you would do the whole thing, but you could definitely do looking inside of web apps, the one that I just did, and looking at developer tools. SQL is actually not that hard to learn. So if you want your kids to dive into some SQL, it's pretty easy stuff, how to query a database and things. So you could kind of look at, that's one I would definitely look at ahead of time and decide, especially for middle school kids, how much of it would I want them to jump into. And again, I was going to have you do a module exploration, but I knew I'd run out of time. This is all the stuff that follows that module in networking. So basically how the internet works and basic networks. And then we have an advanced networking module. To create a section, if you decide to use it, the site, you go to your sections page. So I'm going to go to sections, my teacher page. Oh, come on. And I just go to create new section. It will allow me to make my name. And if I don't like the name later, you can always go back and change it. And the next page, which I'm not going to walk through, literally takes you to a version of the course catalog page where you pick your main course and it creates that section. And then you can also bring in other modules too. And you can remove stuff. You can remove specific lessons. You can remove specific assignments. You can add stuff of your own. You can build it out any way that you like. And I left some slides in here so you could see how that works. And the way you join the demo course is the exact same way the kids would join your course. So we do have the advanced cyber course, and here's the pathway for that. This one I just wanted to cover mostly the fundamentals one, but the extra stuff sitting in the advanced is advanced cryptography, advanced networking, cyber defense, so incident response, disaster recovery, risk management. So kids to do vulnerability scans, and they learn how to recognize vulnerabilities in security systems. Can you limit the view of a student course? You absolutely can. We have access controls, so you can decide what they see, when you want them to see it. You can put them out the day ahead, the week ahead. You can time when they're going to be released, all of that. So absolutely. They're in-course projects, steganography, IT professional, security assessment reports, a bit of writing, but that's kind of with the job. The gigs for cybersecurity is a lot about convincing CEOs and IT departments that they need to do certain things. So they have to do a fair amount of report writing and show data and say, hey guys, this is why we need this particular security on our system. Some supplementary material that are also in the fundamentals. And we have demos. Those are all in the slides. And let me put the, I will throw the syllabus and the course overview in there in the chat, but yeah, the advanced cyber course is a year-long course as well. And you can definitely cobble it down to a semester or quarter. Like, these are so modular. It's not like math where if you take a piece out, they're not going to know what they're doing. You can definitely say, I just want to do sysadmin, or I just want to do network, networking or whatever, and you can definitely just pull out one module and do that, or one lesson even. Wow, this was so much fun. I hope you guys got some things out of this. There's some general resources sitting here in the, like our webinars, our Facebook group is amazing. They have, we give a lot, teachers give a lot of help to each other in our Facebook group. And I also have an end of workshop survey that I would love for you to fill out. We are always looking for new ideas. And I did not put this in my list of links. I forgot it, but I can grab it from here and throw that in the chat. But does anybody have any other questions? You've had some great questions throughout.
Well, as people are coming up with their questions, I certainly want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. This was fantastic. I did place, I don't know if you saw, some links in there for your PDH for today. So 1.5 hours of PDH for today. So go ahead and click that link. It works. I know last week's didn't work, but it does work. I double checked it. So make sure that you go ahead and click that. I also put links to our Wednesday webinar page. I realize this is a Saturday, but you know, that's where we house our videos. So that's where this video will be housed after this weekend. I will also be sending you a link to the recording of the video, as well as the resources that Leah has been so kind to share today. So you'll get all of that stuff in that email as well. And then last but not least is a link to our calendar where you can sign up for other events. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I just want to tell you about 2 that are coming up. The first, can you guys see that? Tech the Halls. Okay, good. So the first one is Tech the Halls. That is a workshop on December 8th that we'll be running. And this is going to be an opportunity to get together with Lindsay Zilli, our Director of Professional Learning, and she's going to take you through some holiday activities, tech activities that you could walk away with and do right in your classroom with your students before break. So definitely join us for that. And then the other one is today ends our early bird sale, early bird rates for IdeaCon. So I hope that you guys are going to join us in February. We have a month-long conference this year. It's going to be, we've partnered with TCEA, the Texas organization like us, and our speakers and their speakers are all going to be speaking at the same time. It's obviously virtual this year. So an entire month of opportunities to get some great sessions, both live sessions, recorded sessions, and on-demand sessions. And so definitely go ahead and register today while the registering is cheaper. So go ahead, bit.ly/idea.con, bit.ly/IDEA, all caps, and then con lowercase, or just go to our calendar page that I sent you that link out, and you'll be able to get the registration link there as well. So please go ahead and do that. Let's see, we had 2 more questions, or 1 more question, which I think you answered. Once things get back to normal, will there be more in-depth in-person PDs? Yes, we hope so. We definitely hope at some point there will be a normal. And so, yes, we've been doing obviously a lot of virtual stuff because that's all we can do right now. You know, thankful for partners like CodeHS that can bring you this professional development opportunity still, even in the virtual world. So we will continue to do that and bring you those opportunities. But yes, we all pray that at some point we will get to be in person again and see all your smiling faces. So definitely. Unless there's any other questions, I know we're a little bit past the hour, so, or hour and a half, I guess. So thank you to everybody for sticking it out with us today, and we'll see you soon. So thank you. Leah, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always. And I'll talk to you, I'm sure, probably Monday. So great. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everybody.
I think you're good. I'm going to hang up. Have a good one.